And I will say, welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us for our second installment of the Nonprofit Communications and Storytelling Marketing Workshop.
Yep.
We're grateful you came back. Sorry for the disruption last week. Just some unavoidable travel delays. So thanks for making it around. If you didn't catch the recording from the first one, you should have that in your email, or feel free to reach out to me or Jamie or anyone on the Brushy Fork staff to help make sure you have access to that. And I think today's content will keep building on where we've already been so far. So without further ado, I'll pass it back over to Ryan Johnson.
All right. Well, thank you. And I do apologize for last week. I was telling them I had to go to Rochester, Minnesota, to the Mayo Clinic. And so we had some delays in flights and fog and storms, and they extended some testing. So that delayed our flight. It was just a hot mess. And so I would have been a disaster trying to come to you all and give a training in the midst of all that. So I apologize, but we are here and I'm excited because several of you sent me your stories and they are so good. And I love that you all are thinking about it and that you're really taking what we talked about 2 weeks ago and putting it into practice. And so this week, what we're going to do is we're going to take it and we're going to make it a social media post. So I hope you all realized when we met the first time that I like for you all to be active and doing things. I don't want you to just have to listen to me talk because that's really boring. So I want you all to walk away with something tangible that you can then use as you are trying to build out your social media. So I'm going to share my screen. So if you put something in the chat, I may or may not see it. But let's see here if I can share and present. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, so can everybody see that? Everybody see the screen? Okay. So before we start to talk about the key to effective post, I want to ask you all a couple of questions. So have you all seen any social media post lately that just really caught your attention? Something that you thought, man, I'm in this training and that's really good. Anything that's caught your attention lately? Any really good post?
Does clickbait count, Ryan? Like my IQ, is it greater than Albert? That's not what you're after here.
That is not what I'm after. However, that did just make me think about, the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And I can tell you that I have 2 fifth graders and I am not. They come home with their math homework and I'm like, no, I can't do this. No, I'm talking about a post by maybe an organization that you follow that you're like, wow, they are doing some really incredible work, or they're doing something great, or, ooh, I need to sign up for that training. There's an example. Have you seen anything really good besides the post about this training? Well, there's an example of some posts. So be thinking about that. Kathy, were you going to say something?
Well, actually, there probably was one good one I saw, but now I don't remember who made the post. But it's fairly a decent one on the SNAP. With the SNAP benefits all in limbo. But they had a few numbers in there, but then they clearly maybe they've attended a training similar in there because they put the story in there too. So they had the numbers. And it was a promotion to donate food, to one of the local food things that we have. But we have several going on right now. And so what was nice was they had the numbers in there that they probably took from another site. And then they had a very brief story about a family in need. So it made you want to give to the donation.
Yes, that is exactly what we're talking about. It's okay to have that number in there, right? Like we talked about that last week.
Right.
It's okay to say, whatever it is, 75% of our children at our school are on free and reduced lunch, or 50% of those families receive SNAP benefits. But until you can put that face with those numbers or that story with those numbers, it didn't register with you as much. I've seen a ton of those, Snap post or whatever, but until you hear that story and you're like, wow, I cannot believe that poor child went 3 days over the weekend with no food or whatever that was. That's what you want to hear. So that, Kathy, that's perfect. That is a perfect example. And so that's the key. If you think about, I want you to think about, as we're talking about these 3 things, about that post, that example that you just shared. So the key to effective post is you want to raise awareness, obviously. So we've got the awareness of the SNAP benefits, right? But then you want to help them feel connected. So affinity. So if you can feel connected in some way to that organization or that story, then there you go. And then the action was to donate, right? And so you've got all 3 of those things in that post. So that is the absolute perfect example. And the thing about it is, when you all are thinking about this and you're making your post, I want you to remember that social media is not just about posting. I mean, we're not just trying to, I always say throw spaghetti at a wall and hope a post sticks. That's not your goal. You want to post with intention. And so all of your posts should fall into those 3 categories. I was going to use an example. So at App C2C, we have been working with another organization, and we are doing this early education Bright Start Explorers. I think I talked about it the last time, but it's been a huge project that we're working on. And so I can, my example here is Bright Start Explorers shared a stat that 56% of our kindergartners started school ready to learn. Well, that's great. So that's the awareness part of it. But what if we shared a story about a student that was able to learn to read or start school ready to go? And so then, the action side of that would be what? If you know a kid, sign up for the Bright Start program, share this with someone who's eligible, and let's, work together on that. So what I want us to do is we are going to work through, we've got 5 questions that I want you all to take a second and answer for your organization. Okay. So when you're thinking about your posting on any social media platform, I want you to think about your purpose and your people. So who are you trying to reach? What do you want them to know, feel, or do? What story or message best connects them to that? And what platform will reach them the most effectively? You may not know that yet, but I'm curious at what you think. So when we're talking about platforms, are we talking about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X, formerly known as Twitter? So think about those things. And you may not know the answer, but I'm curious, starting out, what you think will be the best platform. And then I want to know what you think. How will you know it worked? So take just a minute and everybody kind of write down some of those questions really quick.
Okay. Do we write it on a piece of paper or?
Yeah. This is just your
on
notes.
a piece of paper.
Yeah,
okay.
Just your notes.
I thought we had to write it on there and I didn't know how to do it.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm not that techie. Trust me. Y'all, we're real lucky I can get my screen shared up here.
All right. Very good.
So once you all have answered these questions, just somebody raise your hand and we'll let you start off kind of telling us the answers, what you've come up with. All right, Miss Hannah.
Yeah, pardon for being off video today. But so with Art of the Rural, we're really trying to reach rural artists and rural culture bearers, and we define that really broadly. But I think we want folks to feel, like there is a community and resources for their creative work and the creative people that they are in community with themselves. I'm thinking like in terms of a story or message, we could always give an example of an artist or an organization that we've supported like already through our work and some of the outcomes of that. Typically, especially for, I would say like Instagram is probably the best in like the case for this post. But cross posting, I feel like Facebook Meta platforms is a good idea. And we'll know if it works if, people maybe message or email us, reshare our posts with other people, and so on.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes. Anybody else have one you want to share? Kathy, I think I see you talking, but you're muted. Let me see if I can unmute you.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
we can hear you now.
Okay. We try to focus on those families that are at risk of becoming homeless. It's just easier to keep somebody in their home than them becoming homeless. So some of the reasons are varied. Maybe they missed a little bit of work because of illness or whatever. So that's who our primary. It's probably not those people. It's probably the other people who are working with those people. They're probably not going to see the message. It will be the other entities who will refer them. So we want them to know. So some of the things that we can do are we can help maybe with their rent payment. We can help with utility bills, those kinds of things. And we have on occasion, sometimes their car breaks down and they need some help paying that car bill so they can keep their job. So we can sometimes, depending on the cost, help out with that. So I will say this, we don't do a good job of sharing the story at all. So I would like to do that. Currently, probably the only way we would do that is usually maybe once every 6 months, we have something in our newsletter. People mainly know because of just interagency work. It's just word of mouth. So that's how they know it. But I think it would be helpful if we expanded that. Maybe a Facebook posting, start out small, and probably Facebook is how we would start out with. And the purpose would maybe to get maybe more donations. Currently, we only use limited sources for donations. And so the purpose would be to increase those.
So, Kathy, do you all have social media at all or just the newsletter?
We do have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we do have one, so we don't have to create it. It's already there.
So
but
you
we
could, if
never
you have,
put the message on there.
yeah, and if you have a story of someone who has benefited from your organization and they're willing to share, that happens. I see that a lot with recovery and things like that.
Right.
So, if you have someone that you can share their story, then that's the perfect example of being able to do that.
Yes.
And then that call to action of donating so that you can help more families.
More people. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Good job. Well, okay. So the next thing we're going to do, I can get my screen. No, I'm not techie. So, and yeah, I have a lot of dogs. I don't know if you all can hear them or not, but they're upstairs barking at somebody. But what we're going to do now is, so now that you kind of know your purpose, right? You know your audience. So we answered all those 5 questions. So now what we're going to do is we're going to craft that post. So when you're doing that, you've got to think about your hook, your heart, and your call to action, right? So when you think about the hook, what is a short line that grabs attention? So I'm going to show an example here in just a minute, but just thinking about, Kathy's example. You can think of a short line that maybe would grab your attention about a family that's been homeless, right? And then the heart, you're going to tell that story. So in that heart, you're going to be able to find that emotional center. We talked a lot about this. If you weren't here 2 weeks ago when we first met, we talked a lot about the heart of the story. And that is that emotional center the most important part. Even over the call to action, that heart is the most important part because that's what people are going to remember about your story. And so then, of course, we want that clear next step where you're telling them how they can help and benefit or help and either benefit or contribute. So my example that I used was meet Jade, age 8. She started kindergarten shy and behind, but now she reads to her baby brother every night. Bright Start Explorers helped her get there. Enroll your child today. It's free for families across Kentucky. So that's just a quick example of how we could use the Bright Start Explorers example. But what I want you all to do is write a short post using this same formula. Okay. So be thinking about those 5 questions that you asked, yourself, and we're going to write it. We're going to separate it out. So what's your hook? What's your heart of the story? And then what's your call to action? So think about your story that we worked on 2 weeks ago that you were, pulling all your story together. So pull out your notes from that. And then now we're going to separate it out into a social media post. Now, this can also be an intro to a video. If you wanted to tell the story that way, it can be text. You can include pictures. So think about that. So we're going to take just about 4 minutes maybe for you all to write your hook, your heart, and your call to action. We need waiting room music, creative inspiration music. Does anybody have their hook ready? I'm going to ask you to share them. That's the whole point, so we can learn from each other, right?
I can go.
All right, Miss Abby.
Ours, I'm thinking about we run 988 for this state, for our part of the state, and thinking about and really trying to, with the holidays coming up, pushing that out more so people know about the resource. Have you ever felt like you were carrying something too heavy to say out loud?
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Where's your heart? What's your heart?
Focusing on, for a long time, I thought I could handle it all on my own, and realizing that asking for help is healing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then your call to action.
If you or someone you love is struggling, you can call or text 988. You are not alone ever.
I love it. That's great. That's perfect.
Okay.
Would you include graphics with that? What would you include with that?
I think just a person, like a black and white still of someone, like holding their head maybe. We have to be very careful with HIPAA and focusing, and that's one reason I wanted to take this was like getting the organization more on board with storytelling. Because with HIPAA and with the sensitive nature of our work, you can't people aren't comfortable with it, right? And there's a lot of stigma around it, and so like just a black and white or a sepia shot of someone like holding their head, maybe,
Yeah, absolutely. But it's you say that, and I agree with you. There is such a stigma, but that stigma is going away, and
It
I am
is. It's
so grateful that it
much better
is.
than it was.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, I would not be surprised if you didn't have someone who would be willing to share their story at some point. Obviously, you would have to get lots of, permissions and all that, but I can see you having someone that would be willing to share that story.
I think that it's more of a leadership with concerns I think that we, of all the behavioral health work we do, I definitely think that we could get people from every of the different pillars that would be willing, and it would be super engaging. And so I'm trying to like get them more used to it. I'm fairly new, right? And so like just trying to think about ways to engage more clients and more community partners to build more collaboration with.
I was just about to say that as well, that, even if you had so is it, who answers the calls for
So
988?
we staff for the state for that
Okay.
so like the New Vista employees. And so we
So,
absolutely had, and we have a 988 coordinator that does outreach, right? And could he talk about it? Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So even, having the person who answers the phone, your staff that could say, I'll never forget on Christmas Eve when I got the phone call from this, 15-year-old girl or this 37-year-old mom who was overwhelmed, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
they're sharing the story without sharing who.
Yeah.
So think about that too.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Michael, I got your email too. You want to share something from yours?
I'm just revising it in social media
Are
context a
you?
little bit. So I'm
Okay,
I'm just recasting that a little bit.
sure.
So I
It
will
was
be
really
ready.
good. It was really good. And that's
Good.
the thing, you take what you wrote last week or the week before, and then we're going to just take that and we're going to pull it out in bits and pieces, and we're going to find those other stories that we can share from that.
Well, would it be useful for me to just share what I wrote since I wasn't able to be here last week and
Absolutely.
maybe get a little advice from you about how to tease it out? Because I'm trying to come up with a specific hook, although I think it relates to the opening of this. So I'm Michael Tierney with the Big Ugly Community Center on Big Ugly Creek in southern West Virginia. In 1993, a neighbor on Big Ugly Creek lamented, "The problem around here is that they don't teach you how to dream." That inspired us to create a safe place where kids and their families can dream, discover new gifts within themselves, work, apply themselves to develop skills, and grow, a nurturing community based at the Big Ugly Community Center. Our West Virginia Dreamers program has been nationally recognized by Pew Partnerships. We support our students from toddlers to high school graduation through year-round after-school and summer programs since 1995, parent leadership, youth internships, a food bank, and a library at the only public building for a half-hour drive in any direction. We've watched them return as program workers, 11 have become teachers, and parents bringing their own kids. We ask you to join the Big Ugly Angels campaign, building our sustainability for the next 30 years. And there's a little logo that actually a Berea student designed for us of an angel with kind of tattered wings just from the sort of calf down with work boots is the image that we have going with it.
Yeah. So what do you all think? I'm curious what you all think about this.
I think I'm ready to go click on the little angel, Michael's what I'm ready to do.
Is there a way to screen share that?
Yes, I was just about to say, let
Because
me
I
see if
think
I
you
can
you actually
move.
have it. Do you have it
I
right?
do.
Yeah,
Let
because
me
it
see
is
if I
it is a
can.
pretty fun image.
Can you
Uh,
all see that now? Yeah, I love the image.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So when you read this, so what is the hook?
That don't teach you how to dream piece, which, just gave me chills when I heard it.
Okay.
I live on Big Ugly Creek, and it just gave me chills when this guy said it over 30 years ago.
So what is the heart of it?
Um, what I'm trying to focus the heart is all these different opportunities, as opposed to um, talking about, we do live in the poorest census tract in one of the poorest counties and one of the poorest states, but I don't ever like to do an outreach without emphasizing the strength of our community. I don't want to do just the oh poor us. And there's lots of good stories, but it's a little hard for me to edit down into um, there's just so many things. Our teen interns all the bus didn't work, so they all figured out transportation to come and help with the food bank on Saturday. We are overrun with our food bank. So there's some really good stories in there that, but I do have to get across that it's also one of the poorest parts of the state. So that's what I'm wrestling with the heart section.
Okay. So think about this. So this blurb that you've written is perfect. It's great. You've got about 5 stories in it. So you could break this up into about 5 different posts for social media. Okay. So you've written this and it's beautiful. But what if you did take that where you said, the problem around here is they don't teach you how to dream. And then you tell the story about one of the students who has been there. They learned how to dream. They became the teacher.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going?
Yes, or at Big Ugly, we dream by helping our neighbors. And kids had to restock
Absolutely.
the food bank 5 times before noon last Saturday. Or we have a wonderful music camp that Berea College Appalachian Funds Folk Arts and Culture has supported through the years. Um, yeah, there's like even little snippets of incredible songs that kids have written over the years. I like that, to just focus, 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 and not have these lists of everything.
Yes. So that is beautiful. And you can put that on your website and it is going to be a perfect introduction to who you are. Put that as your intro on your Facebook page or whatever. But when you are making your post, think about the stories that can be a part of all those things that are in there. I talk with my hands so y'all can see me. I'm pointing at my screen. But I get excited when I start seeing these things because you have incredible stories in here telling the story of the bus from this weekend. If you take pictures and show, or even little snippets of videos of everybody restocking that food bank over the weekend, that's what is going. That's the heart right there. And then your
Yeah.
call to action is to support you.
Yep.
Come, volunteer, support you. However,
Yeah, I keep on forgetting the less is more, less is more, less is more. Hit them with one story, not
Yeah.
not a menu. Because you want to
Yes,
tell so many different things. And if they're curious, they'll read the next post.
that's right.
That's really helpful advice.
Yes, that's what you want to do. You don't have to get everything out at once. You can pull little pieces. So, like at PRI, at C2C, where I work, we work across that whole pipeline from cradle to career, right? But we're not telling that whole story of cradle to career all the time. We may focus on third grade reading today, or we may focus on, you know, so, what am I trying to say? College education in one. We may focus on internships in one. So you're pulling out those little pieces along the way of all the things that you do and telling those little individual stories.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Who else wants to share?
I suppose I could say something.
All right, Miss Emily, let's go.
Okay. I don't have it written out, but just
Okay.
thoughts for the first part, the hook. I was going to say something like history speaks, exclamation History Speaks, Stories of African Americans in Southeast Kentucky, Missing Pages from from History Books Forgotten and Overlooked. And I'm narrating something like that over photos showing African Americans living like old photos of the Black Doctor. We have a picture, the only Black doctor in town, and he's sitting on a big horse, and he had a hospital and everything, and these are things that nobody knows, but it's saying this narration over those kind of pictures, the Black high school, Black sports teachers, and so forth, and then the heart sharing the story about the flood, and showing some images of that flood, and talking about the World Kitchen volunteer who we were talking, and he made the comment that I won't believe Blacks lived here unless I see the evidence. And then the call to action for donate to help us produce this evidence and preserve and share the traditions and history and culture.
So, Emily, do you all do social media? Like, do you do newsletters? Tell me what you do.
We do Facebook.
Okay.
I think that's one of our biggest venues. Then we have a YouTube channel that we do a lot of our videos.
Okay.
In particular, stories behind the quilts, talking about the quilting culture, and then we also have a website.
Okay. What if, and this is just me thinking out loud after I read your story, but what if your hook is that I will not believe that Black people live here in the mountains until I see the evidence? And then your heart, and then your heart is the Black people living in those mountains, and you're giving the evidence. So that's your, I'm thinking bigger campaign.
Yeah.
So that's your theme is
Okay.
you're going to show the evidence, baby. It's getting out there, and you're going to tell these stories of these incredible people who have done incredible things in these mountains. Like I get teary-eyed. I mean, that's the heart then. So your hook is, yeah, they do live here.
Okay.
And they're doing awesome things. And then your heart's telling the story.
Flipping it around. Yeah. Okay.
What do you think about that?
I thought about that, and I just flipped them around. Yeah.
You did. I think I would do it this way. And then that opens you up to you telling the story. You're giving the evidence. So all of the different people whose stories you want to tell, you're giving that evidence. You're proving that is accurate.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And listen, I'll help you with that campaign anytime for free because that's incredible. So you just call me if you need me because that's amazing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I love it. I love it so much.
All right. Thank you.
So who else wants to share? Y'all get me so excited. I love all these stories.
I'll go.
Okay.
I've got one just because Veterans Day is coming up. So I never expected to see that money again. That's what Karen, an 83-year-old Army veteran, said after paying more than $19,000 to a contractor who never did any work. Pisgah Legal Services attorney Robert Wharton worked with Karen for over a year to successfully sue the contractor and apply for compensation from the NC Homeowners Recovery Fund. Pisgah Legal is committed to assisting veterans and their families overcome challenges. Read more of Karen's story and learn about our Veterans Law program at pisgahlegal.org.
Yes. Check. Perfect. That's perfect. Did you see? I mean, there's the hook, shared the heart, and then she gave the call to action. I mean, it was perfect. Yeah. Good job, you guys. This is awesome. I'm excited. Okay. Now I guess we have to stop sharing stories or we're going to run out of time. But I could sit and listen to your all stories all day long. But now we got to talk a little bit about where we're going to post them. So you got it. You know what to do. You know how to write it. So now let's figure out where we're going to post them, right? So there's lots of different social media platforms. There's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's LinkedIn, there's TikTok. There's a lot more. These are the 4 main ones that most organizations are using right now. So I know, Hannah, you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I want you to think about your channels. I wrote this on the bottom. Think of your channels like parts of an ecosystem. Okay, so your story can live in all of them if you just tweak it just a little bit. So think about your audience for each platform. I mean, we don't have to do the research because other people out there have already done it. So we know already that Facebook is great for community storytelling and posting events. So you're going to get your, late 20s to 65-ish ages on Facebook. That's where they're living. So that's that's your audience. That's kind of where you're living. Instagram is going to be, I'm getting notifications on here. I don't know what they're about. Instagram is going to be best for your visuals. Facebook is great for visuals too. If you want to post videos and pictures on there, it's lovely. But Instagram is all about it. So that's going to be your number one thing that you're going to want to do. If you've got pictures or you've got little videos and you can share on there, that is perfect. It's great for like behind the scenes type stuff. So thinking about Miss Emily over here, if you're doing some things for, YouTube and you're making videos and you can snap some behind the scenes pictures of some interviews that are happening, that's awesome. That's what you want to do. LinkedIn is better for if you're sharing partner stories. So for instance, I will change up my story. So where I might be like encouraging, parents to sign up for this Bright Start Early Learning program on Facebook, I might show pictures of students using them, using like on the computers, using it, learning on Instagram. But now on LinkedIn, I'm over here asking partners to help us, right? So I'm focused on things like, hang on one second. Go ahead, sis. Sorry. One of my twins, there was a death in our community and everyone in the education area, the funeral was at noon. So my kids got to come home from school at 12 today. So I apologize that they're here. But when you think about LinkedIn, think about using it for partner side of that, right? So you're trying to look and think, who can I get to help back me up in my work? That's kind of the way I look at that. And then TikTok is more fun, right? So that's where if you've got some fun videos and you want to share on there, another place to show your behind the scenes things. If you're selling things, TikTok's great for that. We don't use TikTok a lot, but the other 3 we do. And so I want you to think about them and how you can change the tone of what you're saying and the message of what you're saying and use it on all 3 places. So you're able to use that content in multiple spaces. So does that make sense, or do you all have questions about that?
Kind of just a little bit more about the generational stuff. When I was talking with our teens about Youth Voices Project, they went to TikTok. They just said it's nice that their parents and grandparents can see their photos on Facebook, but they do not go to Facebook. And so I guess is there any, and I guess my other little side question is, because I did join LinkedIn, but I don't check it very often. And I keep on getting all these invites from people that I know. And I just wonder if they're insulted because I don't accept them as a friend. I mean, there's this also just kind of like the sheer amount of management of all of this stuff is crazy.
It is. It's a lot.
LinkedIn is the worst as far as constantly badgering you about that.
Yeah, you're exactly right on multiple levels there. So thinking back to the TikTok. So it's going to depend on your audience. So if you have a younger audience, so Michael, when you are promoting you talked about your after school programs, making a cute video and some things that you can post on TikTok about your after school programs so that students don't think, this is a boring place I have to go study after school. No, it's a place where you're going to have fun. It may be educational, but you're going to have fun too. That's a great place for those. But now I'll tell you, people of all ages are using TikTok. So I think it's just TikTok's one of those that we're all going to have to get behind, even if it's a little bit over our heads, and I'm trying to learn myself. Instagram is going to be more of your, I would say your teenagers to your 50s. And I can send you all, there's statistics out there. I will do that. I will send an email to you all with some more specific information about the age groups and the demographics for each platform. I wish I had more time to go into all of that in here, but I don't, so I'll just send it to you. How about that? Will that work? And then you're right about LinkedIn. It's the one I always forget, but it is probably one of the most important ones because you're connecting with people who are either able to support you in your work, to lift your work up. So go ahead and connect with them. It won't hurt. You're not sharing, anything personal on there. It's just work stuff. So that's my philosophy is if somebody wants to connect with me, awesome, because I'm probably going to share a lot about the work we do. And they may, you never know. We were doing a project on attendance and engagement. And a lady I had never met from the Kentucky Department of Education reached out to me and she said, that sounds like an incredible project. How can I be a part of it? And now she's on our strategy working group and helping make things happen. So you just never know when you're going to be able to connect with someone that might make a difference in your organization. That's my philosophy on LinkedIn. It's definitely not one I check every day. All right. So when I think about, and I'm sticking with my Bright Star Explorers, example, it's just easier to stick with the one. So when I think about sharing about it, Facebook, it might be a full caption, a bigger post, a family photo of people using the platform. Instagram might just be a really short quote from a parent that's had great success or a kid that's had great success with maybe a little video of them using the platform. LinkedIn, again, more about data and partnership. So that's kind of how I break those down. And then, because we just need one more rule for social media, the rule of thirds. So if you're posting 3 times a week, and that's pretty good because you don't want to be noise. You're not just trying to be out there and be heard. You want to literally be thought about. So when you think about that, if you're picking 3 days a week to post, you want one could be about a data set, right? You could talk about the data, the reading readiness, whatever. 2, we could highlight a volunteer, somebody that's out helping us get the program started. And then 3, we can invite people to our next event. So if you think about that, I always say you really need to be seen 3 to 5 times a week, period. But somewhere, doesn't have to be on the same platform, but whether it's through a newsletter, whether it's through social media, however you're communicating with your constituents, it's 3 to 5 times a week in order for them to even pay attention. And it's okay for it to be the same message, just reword it a little bit here and there. And if you're doing that, that's going to be a good balance. But you definitely don't want it to just be noise all the time. And you definitely want to post at least 3 times a week, probably no more than 5. So that's kind of that range there. But you're always focused on educating, celebrating, and engaging. So think about those educating, celebrating, and engaging people. So now I want you to think about, we're going to look at this calendar. So let's think about in 1 week's time, and you don't need to write the whole post, but just think about educating, celebrating, and what was our other one? Educate, celebrate, and engage. How can you do that in 1 week's time? What are just some things? So Tuesday, we might share a story about a student using a program. On Thursday, we might invite somebody to a ribbon cutting on Friday. On Saturday, we may tell a quick story just to engage them. So kind of think about that and lay that out. And so each week, that's what I do. I'll come into my office on Monday and I sit down and I plan my week out. What are my things I'm going to post? We use a program called Hootsuite. I do not have that listed in here, but it is what we use, and that's how we schedule our post. And it is lovely because just like Michael was talking about, it's hard to keep up with all of them. So if you're not using something similar to Hootsuite, I encourage you to look into it, because what you can do is I can pick each platform that we use, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, put them all on there. And then I can take my post, put it in. It has an AI component. And so it can adjust my post for each platform. So it saves me a ton of time. And it's amazing. And it will even tell you if your photos are not, the right size for Instagram, and it'll help you go in and crop them. It has just made life so much easier. And so, especially if you're have multiple users on your social media, like some people do, it's a great option to, let other people go in and see what you're posting too. So you're not posting on top of each other, or anything like that. Does anybody on here use Hootsuite or another platform?
We used Loomly for a while. We did not
Okay.
love it, and we didn't renew our subscription. So I'm really interested in that one.
Okay. We really like it. Just the basic is not super expensive. Now, when you get into things like I really want to do, and I want to do social listening, I want to know who's talking about us, all the things, it gets more expensive. But if you just use the main scheduler, it's not bad at all. Anybody else use anything like that?
Could you type into the chat what the name of that program, Hootsuite? I'm just not exactly sure how to look it
Absolutely.
up.
Hannah says they use MetaSuite. Yes, that works too. Jamie, you all use Buffer? Yeah. Sorry, I missed the chat because it was over here on my other screen. Any of those make a difference in just your time, because when you are trying to manage multiple platforms, it can get overwhelming. And so this is just a great way to kind of ease that up. So, yeah. So then I'd like to do it this way.
Ryan, can I interrupt you just for a minute? And I recognize that many of our organizations, some are going to go back and watch this afterwards, who are unable to, for whatever reason, be here today. And knowing that a lot of the shops, these are small shops, is there a recommendation that you would have for folks, if you're a small shop of 4 or you're a small shop of 1, is there anything there in terms of being user friendly that you would say? And again, I'm not asking you to run a commercial or anything like that, but just yeah.
So it depends on how many platforms that you're using. So when you use the Meta Business Suite that comes with Facebook, if you are only using Facebook and Instagram, that's a great option. Because it's free and it comes with it. Hannah, do you have anything you want to add about that, since you use that more than I do?
Yeah, so it is free, which is a huge draw. Also there is like a calendar view, kind of like in this image. So that's really helpful. So you can see what's already been posted or scheduled out, and you can schedule, I forget how many days in advance, but it's pretty significant. For all different kinds of content. So
Again,
I really
that
like
is
it.
just for that. It will connect to your Instagram, but that's it, right?
Yes. So it is just for Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, so if those are the platforms, even if you're just using one of those, it's great.
We're so program heavy, and I would like for us to have more of a LinkedIn presence, especially from like a funder perspective. What strategies do you use to create content for LinkedIn that makes sense, and it's not just a repetition of, hey, we held programming last night and we did these great things?
So give me an example of some programming that you did.
Our robotics team.
Okay.
We had robotics practice last night.
Do you need sponsors for the robotics programs? What do you need?
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, Joe and Jackie from the Challenger Learning Center were at the A-Frame last night, so that's probably a great partnership post to put on LinkedIn.
There you go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just talking through it, just like we are. And that's why these trainings are so good, because you all are talking through it. And it's like, once you start to do that, it's like, oh, yeah, that's how that would work. So yes, so doing a shout out to your partner, the Challenger Learning Center, and how they have helped I don't know, I can't think of one of the kids' names now, but somebody somebody there, and how they've helped him, this student particularly, be a part of this robotics team, and this is what they're going to do, and this is how you can be a part of that too. Does that help?
It does.
Yeah. And then I think too, I'll send you some other examples of how we've done that on LinkedIn too. Another thing that we do on LinkedIn a lot is it's more internal comms, but I'm all about shining a light on our team. And so if you've got somebody on your team that you're like, wow, this is what they're doing. And Hannah says, check out her LinkedIn for her company. She's really proud of it. So there's an example. But, like for instance, if our executive director goes and speaks at a national convening, I'm going to shout that to the rooftops, right? Because that gives our organization credibility. And you know what? It gives her credibility. She's able to maybe go speak in other places and share the work that we're doing. So I do a lot of that too. Like I want to make sure that we're lifting up the people who are doing the work, whether it be internally, our partners, that sort of thing. What other questions?
Sort of a question and idea for people to ponder, since we only have 2 sessions left, is if any folks would like to be study buddies. And I can imagine like doing, partnering with somebody on this group and saying, let's get together by Zoom once a month and just say how things are going. And I couldn't with everybody, but I could commit with one other organization to kind of check out what they're putting out there to provide some feedback, and would love that kind of feedback myself. But if, before we wrap up, if anybody, that's just kind of an open offer. If anybody wants to be a study buddy and have that kind of partnership, I think would be kind of fun. And it would make me actually follow through and do some of this stuff.
I love that. I think that's a great idea. Or maybe creating a little private group where we can share our stuff and say, hey, somebody check this out. Give me some feedback.
I don't mean to volunteer Gina to be with the work that Gina, that you do and Michael do is so similar. It's so similar. Yeah.
It's funny. I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to be that person to jump in front of everyone else. But when he was talking about doing this broad range of programming and having trouble narrowing it down, I was like, oh, that's my problem. So
I'd love to do that. Yeah, we'll do it. And I just encourage other folks, because there's just something about having to tell somebody whether you did something or not that makes you do it.
Yeah, accountability. Absolutely. But also, when you are in the midst of it, it's all around you. And sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees, right? And so I think that's why this works so well, because you all are sharing it with someone else and they can see something that you may not and help you find those deeper stories. So I think that's great. Anything else? You might have any other questions or ideas? Well, I love this group and I'm so excited for next week. So what is our topic next week? Tell us what we're going to be focused on.
Newsletter essentials is the next one. And then I think the final one is around stakeholder communication. So yeah, next week we'll be back to talk about newsletters. And I can just share my screen here real quick, and just so that folks can see that flyer firsthand. And then also just a reminder that because we missed last week, we'll just add an extra session on to the
Wednesday, the 19th, at the same 1:30 to 2:30 block.
Great. So that will deviate from what we've been doing. And Jamie, will they need to re-register on Zoom for that one?
No.
Okay, so you can use this same Zoom link, but please put that on your calendars and we'll send that out in the follow-up email. With that change of date. And then don't forget, we'll also have the next presenter offering a workshop the following day on November 20th. Apologies, it's back to back, but we just needed to make it all happen. And so please do join us for Jordan Carmack's session on the 20th from 2 to 3:30. And yeah, we'll learn more about simplifying, streamlining, and sharing to create AI-powered impact reports. So it'll be a nice follow-up to the sessions we'll have had with Ryan at that point to really take all of this storytelling skill you've been learning and then learn some shortcuts and tricks for how to more easily present that in a beautiful impact report for your end of the year.
That I would love is if you already send a newsletter, and I think several of you said that you do. I would love to see it before next week. So if you can forward your most recent or your maybe the one you think is the very best newsletter, if you will forward that to me, that would be amazing. It's just ryan.johnson@partnersrural.org. But I would love to see those. And then that way when we're talking, I can use some examples. That'd be great.
Do we have homework?
The only homework that you have is between now and then 3 to 5 social media posts. And I'll be checking this one. Last week I didn't say I'd check it, but I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna spy on everybody's social media this week.
Great. And then just a reminder, we want to say thank you to the Berea College Appalachian Fund for helping to make these capacity building workshops possible for you all, as well as through funding from the ARC. And if you all are interested in learning more about the technical assistance and capacity building services that Brushy Fork Leadership Institute offers for free, available to all grantees through this initiative, please do reach out to myself or our new technical assistance capacity building associate director for partner success, Lydia Kitts, who's on the call. And I'll include our emails in the follow-up email I send out. So please look for a follow-up email with the recording. And I'm hoping the Zoom survey pops up at the end this time. I don't know why it didn't last time, but if it didn't, then I'll put another one in the follow-up email.
Love the conversation. Ryan, thank you for the gift of your time to help us think together and to truly workshop these things. And so really appreciate the donation of your time. So
absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm loving it. You all are wonderful. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you have a great weekend and I'll see you next week. Bye.